100-watt Super Lead is arguably Marshall's most iconic model. Introduced in 1965, the plexiglass faceplate gave players reason to call most amps from this era Plexis, even after they switched to a gold aluminum faceplate in late 1969. Now, often viewed as a one-trick pony, the complexity and versatility of the Plexi series makes it great for all kinds of guitars and all kinds of players. But it's really important to know how the amp responds and reacts to where you set the controls. When plugging into the Apollo Twins high Z input and setting input levels, a good starting point for most guitars is to set it at its minimum, which is the 10 dB setting. If you're using the Super Lead plugin for reamping within your DAW, make sure to trim the signal's gain before hitting the plugin to ensure proper gain staging. Peaks between -15 and -21 are optimal. If you open the channel strip section of your plugin, you'll see that you have a wealth of control over your sounds from tracking to mixdown. The 3 faders give you control of 2 close mics and 1 room mic. When using the Super Lead plugin on a mono track, select one of the presets labeled mono, or just choose one of the close mics alone. The most common recording method is a single microphone placed really close to the cabinet. What that gives us is the focused, in-your-face guitar amp sounds that we've heard on thousands of records. But if you want to experiment further, the Plexi plugin allows you to carefully blend in 1 or 2 additional microphones. This opens up a whole new world of sounds. For stereo operation in the Apollo console, you can insert the Super Lead on an aux return set to pre-fader. Then, just mute the channel and bring up the send from the guitar. This also allows you to record both your direct signal as well as the stereo Super Lead in your DAW. When scrolling through the Plexi's presets, keep in mind that a few of them run a bit hot, so just pull down the main output to keep them from clipping. Plexi Marshalls are sometimes referred to as 4-hole Marshalls because of the 4 inputs. The difference between all these inputs is that the ones on the left are brighter than the ones on the right, and the ones on the bottom are attenuated by 6 dB in relation to the ones on the top. If you're recording a single coil equipped guitar, it's best to start on that top right input because it's darker. And if your guitar has humbuckers, start with the top left brighter sounding input. Something else to keep in mind, channel 1 on vintage Plexis features a brightness capacitor across the volume control, yielding very bright tones at lower volumes. The plug-in, being a faithful recreation of the amp itself, responds the same way. When it comes to tone shaping with the Marshall Plexi or the Super Lead plug-in, rock and roll folklore suggests that we should plug in and turn everything all the way up. However, it doesn't always result in the best sounding guitar tones. The Plexi's tone controls are in the circuit before the power section, which makes them really responsive and really powerful. With a treble knob at noon, you're in the Plexi's sweet spot, and if you venture too far past that, you risk adding some crashy transients. I like to think about it this way. If you want to add some pick attack and articulation, that's best with the treble knob. But if you want to add air and overall sparkle to the tones, that's best dialed in with the presence knob since it's post power section. One of the greatest features of the Plexi Super Lead is the ability to jumper the two input channels with a short patch cable. This allows you to essentially blend channel 1's brighter tones with channel 2's darker timbre. Once you've found a great sounding balance between channels 1 and channel 2, you can then use the tone controls for seasoning and fine-tuning. There's a reason that the Marshall Plexi is on the short list of the most revered amps in history. With its iconic crunch and sustain, it practically defined the sound of rock and roll. And the list of players who've relied on the Marshall Plexi is a veritable who's who of guitar royalty. With Softube's Marshall Plexi Super Lead 1959 plugin, we now have access to this tone machine without the commitment to the cost and the volume associated with owning a vintage 100-watt Marshall Plexi. And it's available exclusively for UAD2 hardware and Apollo audio interfaces.